My name is Dr. Gail Gazelle. I'm a practicing physician, boarded in internal medicine and hospice and palliative care, and I'm also a professional certified coach for physicians and physician leaders. I also provide supervision coaching to people who want to hone their skills and up their game, coaching physicians and physician leaders, whether they're physicians or not. Today, we're talking about the problem of burnout in physicians and how we can use positive psychology coaching to help physicians who are suffering from this problem. Let's step back and look at the problem of physician burnout, which you may know is really at epidemic proportions at this point in time. We have a rich body of literature that indicates that anywhere between 40 and 60% of practicing physicians in all fields are suffering from burnout. That's a large number, and that really has raised a lot of concern about how this is impacting the whole healthcare enterprise. When we think about burnout, we think about three factors. The first is a really profound sense of fatigue, exhaustion. Why even bother getting up and facing the day? I just don't have the energy. The second is a sense of cynicism and depersonalization, where you begin to see coworkers and sadly, you begin to see patients and families as objects that you have to navigate your way through, basically through an obstacle course to get through your day. The third factor is a loss of a linkage to your own sense of accomplishment and meaning. And certainly the people who go into medicine are people who want to help. There are, in general, a really good lot of people who are very virtuous and want to help humanity in any way that they can. Sadly, medical training tends to not always bring out the best in this group of individuals. Medical training focuses on perfectionism. If you're not perfect, you're not just imperfect, you're often considered a failure. You may have heard the one, I hate to say this in public, but what's the difference between an intern and a piece of, I'll just say crap? Well, many people would say nobody bothers to step on the piece of crap. And that sums up what a lot of doctors really recall about their training is that they were kind of the low one on the totem pole. There's a real hierarchy in medicine. So that when you get out of your training, if you become a neurosurgeon or a thoracic surgeon or a retinologist, you're kind of the top dog. If you go into one of the really caring frontline specialties like emergency medicine, internal medicine, family medicine, pediatrics, you're actually really looked down upon. So there's a number of factors like this that leave physicians very vulnerable. In addition, physicians are really taught nothing about how to express their own emotions. And obviously, many emotions come up when you're dealing with the human condition and medical adversity. And unfortunately, physicians get very little training in how to do that. That's a quick summary. In addition, what I want to point out too is the changing landscape of the healthcare industry. It is an industry now, and like any other industry, it's all about productivity and really outputs. And physicians are more and more finding that their role is being defined by non-physicians, that they have less and less control over the practice environment. As much as they just want to be left alone to take care of their patients, they're being called to do more and more. The electronic medical record adding perhaps an hour a day, some studies have shown, to the work of a physician who's already living in a negative time zone. Increased scrutiny and accountability, these are all factors that bear down on physicians, in addition to the ever-lurking fears around malpractice. So this all adds up to the situation that we find, these high levels of burnout. The need is really profound. And I'd like to speak now about what we can do to help physicians and how coaching, and in particular positive psychology coaching, can be helpful. Physicians need to be reminded of their strengths. Physicians are often their harshest critic and often suffer from what every physician can identify, a sense that they are an imposter, that they're not as smart as the other guy. As they've moved up in their training, they're kind of with a more rarefied intellectual group, and they may not measure up, and they actually spend a lot of time focusing on the areas of deficit. Positive psychology helps us see that when we help clients look at the positive features within themselves, look at their accomplishments, perhaps by using the age-old positive psychology trick of 3 good things. Asking a physician client who's feeling very burnt out, who can't focus on their many accomplishments that are occurring during their day, asking them, think of 3 accomplishments that you had during your course of the day today, client. Helping physicians to shine a light on the things that they are accomplishing, which of course, even their presence with patients, even in, let's say, a terminally ill situation where they can't change the outcome of a very serious illness, they can still be present with a patient. So first and foremost, we want to help physicians focus on their strengths and accomplishments. We want to help physicians also focus more on some of the positive psychology attributes like gratitude, savoring, and curiosity. Again, when physicians are left to their own devices, there is a lot of self-criticism, a lot of comparison, a lot of assumptions about the situation that they're in and kind of how they stack up in that situation, and maybe a sense that they simply don't know enough because of the burgeoning technologies that are impossible for any physician to keep up with. So we want to help use positive psychology principles to help physicians use different perspectives on challenges that they find themselves in. So curiosity and perspectives are really helpful tools. A physician might feel really stuck. That electronic medical record is keeping me at the office longer and longer and longer. And then when I get home, I've got all these charts to do. And my spouse is nagging at me, and my teenage kids just feel like I don't even care about their lives. I'm missing out on the core features of my life. How can we as a coach help that client reframe the situation and perhaps look at it from different perspectives? For example, the perspective of love of learning and helping humanity. So that the physician, certainly the circumstances are the circumstances. That's the foundation of coaching, that we can't necessarily change the external circumstances, but we can help the person identify new solutions, new options, new approaches to the same challenges that they're facing. So for that physician, we might help them embody the perspective, for example, of who they are at their best. Help them think about a situation recently, perhaps with a colleague, with a trainee, or with a patient, where they really functioned as their best possible self. And when you do that, the physician-client opens up and begins to really get a sense of the potential that they have based on a moment in time when they acted at their best. And you can see them. You can see what I just did, embracing the geography, the physical space of what it's like when one is at one's best, and how good you feel about your performance and how much you have to offer someone. So to perhaps switch the frame from, oh, that day is so draining, I don't have time to get anything done, which fosters decreased productivity and decreased efficacy, and turning that around to, when I look at who I can be at my best, I actually see that I could use my time a bit differently during that day. All those moments of consternation when I'm sitting at my desk kind of like this, if I go to that place of who I am at my best, I actually bring forth a different side of myself, and I actually find that I'm more resourceful and more productive. So that's a very important skill. Just a couple of others that I want to share with you. Since physicians can be so critical of themselves, there's a great positive psychology tool that I love to use with clients, which is the rapid fire self-disputation. So that when the physician client goes to this place of I'm not this enough and I'm not that enough and I'll never be good enough in all the possible ways that they may experience it, you want to help that client rapidly come up with 3 counter-arguments. You want to do it rapidly because otherwise they'll lapse back into all those saboteurs, all of that self-criticism. So that's a very important skill that we can use with our physician clients. Lastly, it's very important to help physicians use humor. Physicians are very serious. We're called upon in very high-stakes situations, and our training teaches us that the most important thing is our intellect. And humor and fun and gaiety and any kind of more emotionally or right brain types of domains are stamped out of us at a very early age. So I think it's important to approach physician clients with a certain lightness. using non-self-deprecating humor to, again, help physicians move out of that cerebral range into the more fullness of their lives. So I hope that it opens your mind a little bit to really the wonderful things that positive psychology can offer you in your armamentarium of skills with physician clients. On my website, gailgazelle.com, I have a free ebook, Building Your Resilient Self, 52 Tips to Move from Physician Burnout to Balance. And I would encourage you to download that and to think about using some of these strategies with your clients. There are other resources on my website, and I'm always happy to hear from people, so please feel free to contact me through my website. I can answer any questions that you have. And as I said, I provide supervision coaching to people who want to help physicians and physician leaders be their best possible self.